live on your tablet, phone, and the KUTV app. This is 2 News Live.
Thanks for joining us on 2 News Live. I'm Brian Schnee. It's Thursday, April 20th. We're going in depth on a number of topics tonight. We're not focusing on one big one. We're diving into a bunch of little ones. Darby Sparks joins us in just a moment, talking about her piece that comes up on 2 News at 6 involving an officer or a number of officers pulling over the wrong vehicle. We're also going into the officer being recognized today for his heroic actions in a wrong-way collision on I-80. That and a number of other things. But before we get there, let's take a look at what is making headlines tonight. Still making headlines on our website right now, KUTV.com. Another police officer has taken the stand in Lori Vallow Daybell's murder trial. Sergeant Chandler Moffitt says he responded to Charles Vallow's death. He says he never saw Lori at the shooting scene, but he says he has evidence there was a fight between Lori and Charles before his death. Also making headlines today, House Republicans passing a bill banning transgender athletes from participating in girls' sports. The bill amends a landmark federal civil rights law, changing Title IX's definition of sex to one based only on a person's assigned gender at birth. Governor Spencer Cox says that he will work with social media companies and the citizens of Utah on ways to implement those new restrictions the legislature passed during their recent session when it comes to the use of social media. And finally, pothole patrol. It continues. The record-breaking winter season has made a bumpy mess of our roads. That's putting it lightly for some. In just the last week, Salt Lake City filled 6,300 potholes. The best way to get pothole fixes and fixed is to report all of that to the city in which you live in. As we go in depth tonight, you can always get in touch with us throughout the show. Very easy to do. Use the hashtag 2NewsLive. You can get in touch with us on Facebook, on Twitter, Instagram. We're basically everywhere these days. Just send us a direct message there to weigh in. Going in depth tonight, 3 people speaking out after being involved in a wrongful traffic stop earlier this month that led to them fearing for their lives, as they say. Now, Lehi police believed they were pulling over a stolen vehicle. The problem? It was an error. The car was not stolen, leading to a stop that quickly turned hostile between both parties. Darby Sparks has been investigating this since it happened. Darby, what have you learned over the last few weeks about this incident?
Well, Brian, first of all, excuse my messy hair and the noise out here. This is actually the area or around the area where they were pulled over on April 2nd, and it's a very busy road out here. So about April 2nd, 3 people and a child were in a car on their way home from a lunch when they were stopped by Lehi police. And Lehi police, out of standard procedure, had their guns drawn, and they thought that the car was stolen. As you said, the car was not stolen, and it quickly turned hostile. The people thought that they were upset, and I spoke with them about why it went wrong, and I spoke with the police about why it went wrong, and they say that it's because of the busy road and due to some of the language that was said, that was spoken between both parties, and I speak to both of them about that later on in my story.
Darby, without giving away too much in your story, and by the way, we hear you great, so keep speaking at the volume you are, and obviously the road behind you is very busy, but what did you learn about this situation and where it goes from here? Because obviously there's a number of video components involved with this news piece.
Yeah, there are a few errors that were made from the police department, and what I learned was that they are working on their protocol. They dealt with the situation internally, and they're looking at new training procedures to help to avoid the situation in the future. However, what happened was a very rare error that occurred.
Darby Sparks live for us in Lehi tonight. Darby's story coming up on 2 News at 6. Darby, thank you so much. We're hearing from the trooper who stopped a wrong-way driver on I-80 near Tooele earlier this week. That trooper went head-on with the wrong-way driver in order to stop that vehicle from going against traffic any further.
When crashes involving long-way drivers occur, they're violent, they're tragic, and they're horrible.
So far this year, the Utah Highway Patrol is investigating 8 wrong-way crashes with 4 fatalities and 83 wrong-way incidents overall. Just days ago,
UHP, this reports of a wrong-way driver at the 99 westbound. There's a truck and trailer driving eastbound on the westbound lane.
a wrong-way crash
We do have confirmation that he is crashed into a UHP vehicle
involving one of their own.
Sergeant McCoy made a very quick decision when he identified this horrible threat. He knew he had a large number of vehicles immediately behind him. He knew he was on a high flow, high speed freeway, and he knew what the outcomes were going to be if he didn't take that action.
This video from the dash of Sergeant McCoy's highway patrol vehicle, it shows how he came across the wrong way driver on I-80 and stopped that driver from potentially doing more harm.
Quickly, I saw that they weren't pulling over or stopping, so I just tried to get the best angle that I could to try and get them to stop.
Sergeant McCoy said after the impact, some quick shock and surprise. Realizing he wasn't injured, he went right back to work.
Concern for everybody around you, so luckily I was able to get out of the car without problem, and then just making sure there wasn't any major injuries. Trying to check on the other driver. Luckily there was other troopers that got there quickly to check on him.
Days later, he's a little sore, but hoping to report for duty next week.
Just kind of surreal still kind of trying to process it, but definitely just grateful.
And grateful he was able to call his wife of 14 years after the crash to tell her he's okay.
I mean, I'm proud of him every day he goes to work. He's been in a few things that have been hard to deal with, but it helps having supportive family.
Our biggest concern is that we don't want these to continue happening. There's multiple reasons why someone might be driving the wrong way, but it's obviously something we want to prevent from happening, and then just to help people be safe if they do happen.
Moving on to another piece we're looking in depth on tonight, something that our Chris Jones has covered a number of times. The Salt Lake City School District, a little more than a dozen applications for its new superintendent job. The district is looking for a new leader after what's been a real strange year, and they hope to seat one by July. As mentioned, Crisis in the Classroom reporter Chris Jones been following this story for quite a bit now. I think it is reaching about 12 months, Chris, and it could be a challenge to find the right super fit, right?
Well, you know, that's the thing that's really interesting about this story, Brian, is there's been a lot of controversy surrounding the Salt Lake City School District. This is their temporary offices where we are right now. The controversies including Dr. Gadsden, Timothy Gadsden. He was the superintendent before, who's been around for just 1 year, had kind of a very controversial tenure. He eventually stepped away from the position. Now he's in sort of a consulting role, but as we understand it, they really don't use him that way. Meanwhile, they have a temporary superintendent in place, and now they've begun the process of trying to find a permanent superintendent. But this sort of carousel that we've seen in Salt Lake City, 4 superintendents in 4 years, plus a recent 60-page legislative audit that was very critical of the school district, saying that, number one, there's a lot of backbiting on the school board. Number two, there's concerns about the way that they've been spending their money. So these kinds of issues are problematic for potential candidates. We've talked to people like Michael Clara. He used to be on the school board about 10 years ago. He was one of those gadfly guys, Brian. He was one of those guys who was always raising issues and always sort of poking the bear. A lot of people on the board then found him, troublesome, but he was one of those guys who brought a lot of issues to light. He says he's concerned that given the past, that it might be difficult for the school district to find a superintendent that really fits their needs. So that's the story we're working on. We're going to have more for you at 6 o'clock, talking about how difficult it could potentially be to find the right fit.
Just quickly, Chris, you reached out to the district today and asked them a few questions, right? What did they tell you?
Well, we've been reaching out to the district regularly about questions. They said, we asked them, do you feel like the past in Salt Lake City will hinder the possibility of getting the right fit? And they said, look, this is a question that we feel like has been asked and answered. And they said, they just wanted to know why we felt like this issue was important to sort of bring up again. And the reason we feel like it's important to bring up again is because we're talking about possibly seating a new superintendent by July. So time is of the essence, and these are the kinds of issues that Crisis in the Classroom looks at.
Chris Jones live for us tonight in Salt Lake. Chris, keep asking those questions. Thank you so much. Remember,
Brian.
Yeah, I know you will. I know you will. You're always keeping us on our toes. Remember, if you have a tip to share with our education team, you can call the number on your screen, 839-1199. You can always send us a nice email, education@kutv.com. Chris and his team would love to hear from you. Hey, check out some videos sent in to us by a viewer. Fred sent this video yesterday. A lot of water there. Newcastle Reservoir, southwest Utah, about an hour north of St. George. I've seen video and pictures from Newcastle over the last few years, and it certainly didn't look like that.
Yeah, and the temperatures down south have been a lot warmer the last week or so. We've been stuck in the cold temperatures up here, but there's a lot of water moving now across southern Utah, and it's only going to continue for the next several weeks. So just be careful. I mean, those rivers are running so fast, so cold. Just stay away from them. Look at them from a distance. Don't get near them. Don't get your kids near them, and because things can change so quickly.
Can't stress it enough, too. I mean, we say it almost every day. Keep your distance. Take your photos from a safe distance and send them to us and chime in.
Right.
But really do those safety precautions, or else my go-to statement is, I don't really want to end up on the news for that.
Yeah.
Which is ironic because I work in the news, right?
That's right.
So I really don't want to end up on the news for that. So we don't want you on there either, nor do we want search and rescue out there plucking you out of the water, because the outcomes aren't always good.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's going on in your forecast?
Well, you see, we've got another storm up around the Pacific Northwest. It's headed this way, Brian. We're going to see more rain and snow here along the Wasatch Front. So let's get right to it, show you what we've got. This little storm system is coming in, but it's actually going to usher in a little bit of a warmer weather pattern. But in the process, we're going to see kind of a soggy day on Friday, and that will continue into early Saturday morning. I think Saturday afternoon looks okay, but boy, look at this thing wound up here across the northern plains and up. And I tell you, winter just won't quit across portions of the northern tier states. As you can see, we still have a little bit of rain and snow shower activity. Of course, it's snow in the higher elevations, rain in the valleys. Temperatures tonight dropping down into the 30s here along the Wasatch Front, but at some other places, 27 in Price, 21 in Vernal. Highs tomorrow, 47 in Vernal, 61 in Richfield. And here's what I'm talking about, those warmer temperatures down south. 65 will be the high in Cedar City tomorrow, and 61 in Richfield. That's where we should be this time of the year. Let's look at future track and show you when this all comes in. This is a nice little break we have tonight. If you've got evening plans, just grab a jacket. It's a little chilly out there, but no storminess. And then by 3 a.m. tomorrow morning, we start to see some snow as some warm air starts to lift over the cold air across portions of southern Idaho. That'll trigger some snow, light snow falling, and some light rain showers as far south as Ogden. And then as we get into 10 a.m., we've got rain showers here along the Wasatch Front, snow in the higher elevations. Cache Valley, you're going to get more snow. You might even get an inch or so of snow tomorrow. But this storm is not going to produce a heavy amount of precipitation. It's just going to be kind of a cold, cloudy, gray day with occasional rain, occasional snow showers, and maybe later in the day, this is 2 o'clock, you might see some sunshine. This is 10 o'clock tomorrow night. We've still got some scattered rain and snow showers along the Wasatch Front. Then by Saturday morning, they're still kind of lingering all the way down into Utah County. That's 8 a.m. Saturday. And then by Saturday afternoon, finally, we get a little break and some high clouds, and this warmer air starts to push in from the southwest. So our 24-hour precipitation totals are not going to be high, but they will be bringing a tenth of an inch or so in some places. Ogden, you could get about 2/10, and Logan the same. And like I said, there could definitely be some snow. Above normal temperatures are in the forecast for the next, as we move into the end of April. And that includes portions of Utah, and below normal precipitation. So what that tells me is maybe warmer and drier as we move into May. We'll see how that actually plays out. Here's the forecast for the next 7 days. At least we know what that's going to be. 77, 78, 82, 82. What is this, doubles day? 77, 77, 78, 78, 82, 82, 84. Huh, that's kind of interesting. Okay, I didn't even notice that until just now. 47 to 51, no fancy numbers here. Oh, we got a double there, 60, 60, Monday and Tuesday, and a slight chance of showers on Tuesday. Does look like we'll see those overnight lows finally getting back up into the 40s as we move later into the 7-day forecast. But maybe another chance of showers next Tuesday.
Well, looks decent, looks mixed, something that we were looking at, trying to figure out, obviously, our melting situation, so it's nice to see those temperatures kind of at bay. I don't know if we're talking about this right now. I thought we were going to wait, but I can talk about it.
Yeah,
let's wait a sec. I do have some
We're not gonna
information. We're going to share this information about this fire going on that is actually still burning in parts of Wasatch County. So do have some information coming up in just a few minutes.
Did you say fire?
Fuego.
Earth, wind, and fire.
Earth, wind, and, well, wind contributed to this fire. We'll talk about that in a moment. Remember, download our 2 News weather app. It is very easy to find. You can always get changes in your neighborhood there, get updated forecast, live radar right on your phone. The app is free to download. like I said, we're getting a fire here. This morning, I spent some time watching others get recognized for the great work they do. The Twin Peaks Type 2 Initial Attack Hand Crew. They are a wildland firefighting crew from right here in Utah, out of Draper. They're honored with the USDA Secretary Act of Valor Award and the Regional Forester Award from the Forest Service Intermountain Region. Now, this crew was recognized for trying to save the lives of 2 pilots who were in a helicopter that went down in the Salmon River in Idaho this summer. They were all working on the Moose Fire, a massive fire that burned more than 100,000 acres. The Twin Peaks crew jumped into the fast-moving river to try and save those pilots after their helicopter spun and crashed into the water. The pilots didn't make it, but today the Twin Peaks crew members were recognized for that courageous and selfless act.
Very intense, something that I never thought I'd see in my career. But you know, the crew came together and did what we were supposed to do, went to work.
Was this a surprise to be recognized for doing what you do?
Yes, yeah. I didn't expect anything really to come out of this. You know, it's something that we show up, we go to work, we do our job, and to get some accolades on the tail end is very nice. You kind of jump into that fight or flight mentality when something like this happens, and really you can't train for it, but you fall back to the basics and just take care of the situation at hand.
Everything that we do is based on the people that we have and the organization that they represent when they're out there. And it just makes us proud as an organization to send resources out there that not only do the job of fire, but when things happen, accidents happen, they can step in and do those jobs too. And it makes us proud as a state.
You mentioned this is something that, you know, you're not necessarily thinking about or training for. This specific incident, this was pretty big.
It was big. Yeah, we definitely don't train for this kind of situation. We train to fight fire and dig line and put fire out. But when these kind of things happen, they just jump in, and they do have some medical skills, and you know, just the situation took over and they jumped into action.
When we were first told we were being recognized for an award like this, it was kind of breathtaking. It took us back, put me in the back seat a little bit. It's something that I wasn't expecting. It's something that I know the division wasn't expecting. It came from the federal level. Just very honored and gracious that they're taking the time to honor my crew.
It was actually my first time over at the Lone Peak Conservation Center in Draper, where the Forestry, Fire, and State Lands houses all of those firefighters before they go out on different deployments, if you will, for different assignments. So pretty interesting.
A lot of preparation to get out there and fight those fires.
Yeah, and it's just beginning. So what's interesting is Forestry, Fire, and State Lands, those firefighters right now are preparing to help with flooding. So they will be ready to go if needed here shortly. I want to give you some breaking news, if you will. I've been seeing some comments on social media, US 189 coming through Provo Canyon, coming from the Wallsburg area, Heber and whatnot, Deer Creek Reservoir is just over here. There's been kind of some touch and go with traffic. This is why, if you can see in this black and white camera, this area over here, as Sterling was just kind of drawing out, is a fire scar. There was a controlled burn in the area that escaped. Have some information here. Quality Twitter follow. That's me, even though I blew the blue check mark today is gone.
It's gone. Yours
Thank
is gone.
you
I haven't
for that.
checked
Yeah,
mine to see
mine's
if
gone today because I didn't pay the money. But
gusty winds.
Gusty winds is the reason why this breached kind of those containment areas, and now it's about 6 acres, and there are some other things that are still burning. So if you're driving in that area, some of these cottonwood trees over here were recently just on fire. Crews are still on scene working on this.
Yeah, so be careful out there. Be careful driving through the canyons. There's a lot of debris and stuff falling off the mountains too. So
interesting time of year. We've kind of got a little bit thrown our way.
You know what?
This was not as expected for some people.
It's going to stay unexpected all the way through spring and into summer. That's the way I think it's going to be.
So this road, by the way, Charleston Road, Highway 113, is closed right now. That's the main point of the reason why I wanted to tell you this.
This is the road that comes out of what's it? The mountain.
Well, it's coming through Charleston, so I got you
where
there,
the volcano is.
Yes.
Up there. Yeah.
Yep. You're in it.
Midway.
Midway. You got it. You got it. We know. You're right, though. It's actually just further this way.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is an active situation going on right now. It's burned a number of acres. Just kind of fitting. We were talking to a fire crew today about obviously doing something on a fire, and here you go. So that'll do it for us. We're done. Can you believe it? Thanks for joining us for 2 News Live. We kind of mixed some things together today, went in depth a little bit differently, but hope you enjoyed it. We did as well. Sterling Polson, Brian Schnee. We're back tomorrow, I think. Goodness, one more day, right? It's Friday tomorrow, 5:30.
Thank goodness.
Appointment view. Thank goodness you said it too. We hope you'll join us again. Have a great rest of your Thursday. Good night.
Good night.